So thank you for joining us here at PASR. Today we have Tina Smith of WellMed Charitable Foundation, and Tina is going to discuss setting personal boundaries as a caregiver. So welcome, Tina. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. It's one of the benefits of this virtual world we live in. We're able to kind of reach out from a distance. Just so you all know, I'm in San Antonio, Texas, and so I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you all. So I'm going to share my screen, and then we'll go ahead and get started. And let's see, finally, make it a. Okay, there we go. So, as Nancy mentioned, my name is Tina Smith, and I'm the Senior Director of Caregiver Program Operations with the Caregiver SOS program, which is part of the WellMed Charitable Foundation. And what we do at Caregiver SOS is our main focus is to provide information and support to family members who are caring for an older loved one. Certainly, especially this presentation will apply to any caregiver, regardless of who you may be caring for, because it can be a big job. And so our goal is to make sure that you have the tools that you need to be able to manage all that you are doing. And so today, I'm going to be talking about boundaries, being able to set those boundaries as a caregiver, because I recognize that sometimes that can be hard. All of a sudden, you find yourself doing more and more, and the person you're caring for may need more and more as time goes on. And we find in talking to a lot of caregivers is that it's not unusual for caregivers not to be taking care of their own personal needs. You're so busy caring for the care receiver, as well as managing all the other aspects of your life, is that your needs often get overlooked, and that can be a dangerous position to be in, because that's where burnout can happen. You can get absolutely wiped out. And so taking some steps and setting some boundaries can help you as a caregiver, put you in a better spot in providing the level of care that you need to. So we're going to talk about what it means to set boundaries, why it's important to setting boundaries, and some strategies on how you can get to the place where you are setting those boundaries. So just looking at caregiving in general, it really touches everybody in one shape or form. There's four kinds of people. This is attributed to former First Lady Rosalind Carter, who just recently passed away. She was a champion for caregivers. She herself was a caregiver to several family members over the course of her lifetime. But she's quoted as saying, there are those who are caregivers, there are those who have been caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need a caregiver. And so really, it really touches everybody, like I said, in some shape or form. But it's interesting, the term caregiver is not something that resonates with many people. If you ask somebody, are you a caregiver? They don't see themselves as a caregiver. It's largely they associate it just with it's a family responsibility. It's something that you just do. And so oftentimes we hear, okay, well, I'm just the daughter, or I'm the spouse, or I'm the sister of the person, and so I'm not a caregiver. And so why it's important to recognize yourself as a caregiver, because it helps solidify that that's the role that you're doing. It is a little bit different than being a child of the person you're caring for, a sibling or a spouse. It's a different role, which is stressful in finding the balance between the role. Are you the spouse, or are you the caregiver? But recognizing the role that you are playing as a caregiver is important, because it gives you, it solidifies the role that you're doing. It allows you to ask for help, to set limits, and then access resources to recognize that this is a big job. And it's too hard oftentimes to do just on your own. And it allows you to set a plan moving forward in being able to care for your loved one and all that needs to be done, but as well as to be intentional about making sure that your needs are met as well, and that you're providing some self-care. And that may seem like a lot to the idea of, taking care of myself on top of having to care for everybody else that you may be caring for, and just the day-to-day duties that you need to take care of running your own household or volunteer responsibilities or any other job responsibilities that you may be doing. But really, it is critical that as a caregiver, you take steps to care for yourself. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But essentially, as a caregiver, you're a gatekeeper of care. You're a gatekeeper of the treatment plan that any of the physicians may come up with for your loved one. Um, you're the ones that are making sure that the medications are being taken as they should be. Some of you may be providing wound care, nursing responsibilities, wound cares or injections and things like that. You're coordinating doctor appointments, making those phone calls, talking to the insurance company, making medical decisions if that was needed. And oftentimes you're doing all of this without any kind of training whatsoever. A lot of people just kind of find themselves in this role. You may be doing a little bit more and more as time goes on, or some caregivers find themselves in this role suddenly. A health event happens and the person ends up in the hospital, and all of a sudden, when they leave the hospital, they need some level of care. And so that can be pretty startling, and not knowing what direction to go. And so that can be tough. And so knowing where to reach out for help is important. So what are caregivers doing? Most caregivers, you find yourself in that role because you are helping with what we call, kind of in the field, instrumental activities of daily living, or you may hear IADLs. And essentially that is the housekeeping, the shopping, the transporting back and forth to doctors, paying bills. It's all the stuff around the person, in order to keep that person at home and helping them out. 60% are helping with what we call activities of daily living, which are the bathing, the dressing, the grooming, any of those, when it relates to the person themselves. And then 58% are helping with some sort of medical or nursing task, injections, wound care. You're dealing with feeding tubes, anything along those lines. And most people aren't trained. They're not trained in the medical field, so this is a new experience, and that adds a whole nother layer of stress to the work that you may be doing. So sometimes it may feel like this. It may feel like a burden. And and today we're going to be talking about boundaries and some of the harder parts of caregiving, but caregiving overall doesn't have to be, and a lot of people find joy in providing care. It's, they're glad to be able to do it. They want to be able to do it. It's just sometimes those stressful moments overshadow the joy that they may be feeling. And so again, that's why self-care is so important, because as caregivers, you are oftentimes you're often giving and giving and giving of yourself. We find that a lot of caregivers also are the ones that people go to in need for even just day-to-day things. You have a hard time saying no. If someone at work or in a community setting, they need help, they may turn to you, and oftentimes you may be the person that will turn around and help those who are asking you. So you're pouring out yourself to provide assistance and help to somebody, but if you don't put anything back in, if you don't replenish your joy yourself, then you're going to run out of anything that you've got left to give. You're going to have nothing left to give to anybody. That's when burnout happens. That's when you hit that wall and it's just hard to move forward. And so the goal is to incorporate some of that self-care, is to make sure that you're going to the doctor, that you're getting the sleep you need, the exercise, the nutrition that you need, that you're doing things that bring you joy, that you take some time out of your day to do things that you enjoy, to replenish your energy and your soul, in a sense, to be able to continue to provide that level of care. Will there be hard things that come along with caregiving? Sure. Uh, will the stress necessarily go away? No. There may be more responsibilities as that level of care increases with your loved one, if if that might happen. But learning how to manage the stress is what's key in order to not lose yourself in the role of being a caregiver. And so one of the ways to do that is setting boundaries. Uh, just not saying yes to everything. So boundaries can be another word for setting limits or recognizing what you can and cannot do as a caregiver. It may even be what you want to do and what you don't want to do. Setting boundaries means recognizing that you are a separate person from the person you're caring for, and that you have your own needs. Just being self-aware. Um, it doesn't necessarily mean saying no, just a hard no to something. It may mean that you can do a part of that, and maybe you need to just have it look a little bit different. Maybe not exactly the way that that person who's asking you or who needs it to be done has in mind. So maybe that's that it's okay to set those boundaries. So it's important to set those boundaries because it can prevent possible crisis or burnout by setting limits before they get out of hand. As I mentioned, it's easy to get into the routine of just giving and giving and giving and making sure that your loved one has everything that they need and that everything is taken care of, checking off those boxes. But that can wear you down over a period of time if you're doing that for too long without any kind of break or any kind of self-care that you provide to your own self. So it allows you, by setting boundaries, you're allowing yourself your own sense of identity. You aren't blending into the person that you are caring for, and it gives you more control. And so when you have more control over a situation, when you feel that you've got more control over a situation, that helps manage some of that stress that might come along with that. We just feel better when we're clear on what we're doing, when we're satisfied with what we're doing. I know that when I have to do something that is just outside my boundaries, that I feel very uncomfortable, that just makes me feel very anxious, and the stress levels will increase. And so, when do you do it? As soon as possible, if that is possible. But I know that for many people, you just may not even realize that boundaries are being crossed, or that it just may not occur to you because it's just something that you do. You've done it for a long time, and it's just something that you do, but it ultimately causes you a lot of stress. And so being self-aware and being aware of when you feel anxious when it comes to doing certain tasks, or um, being asked to do certain things, then that is going to allow you, okay, allow you a moment where you can say, okay, I need to step back a little bit and um, reevaluate how this particular task needs to be done, or how this relationship needs to move forward, because maybe it's something that you're doing, or maybe it's a person that is involved in whatever that situation is. Maybe there needs to be some boundaries set there as well. So if you find yourself feeling overwhelmed or out of control, or you find yourself stepping away from things that you do enjoy, maybe you had been able to meet monthly with a group of friends for coffee or a meal, but you find yourself pulling away for that because even something that you enjoy is too much for you to manage. Um, or they're feeling that your entire life is revolving around the person that you're caring for. If you find that, and I do want to encourage you to kind of look in and evaluate how everything is. You may be fine with certain pulling back from some of the activities that you enjoy, but I would encourage you not to do that too much, because again, if you're not doing something to replenish your cup, so to speak, hypothetically speaking, or to use that analogy, if you're not replenishing your cup, then you're going to have less to give, and then there's going to be an impact. But again, just kind of look and just evaluate certain situations, or as you go through your daily routines, are there some areas that are causing you more stress than others? And just kind of figure that out. It's hard. This is a hard step to do for a lot of people, and really for life in general. Just even outside of the caregiving role, it can be hard to set boundaries. You know, but within the caregiving role, some of the reasons may be, feelings of guilt. I can't go out and enjoy myself while my loved one is sitting at home because they're not able to do that. Um, which is certainly understandable to a degree, but again, it comes back to needing to do something for yourself as well. One of the mantras that we say with caregivers is that taking care of yourself is not a luxury. It is not a selfish move. It's a necessity, because again, you need to be able to have the reserve, have the energy and the wherewithal to continue to provide that care. In order to do that, you need to do things for yourself. You need to put yourself in a good position so that you can continue to provide that level of care. Another reason why it's hard to set boundaries as a caregiver sometimes is that role engulfment. Just again, you you just become so absorbed with the care that you need to provide for your loved one. It may be so great, they may have so many needs, and that you're doing it all. And it's hard to see beyond that. Um, and that's a hard place to be, because again, you lose yourself, and if you're doing that, then you're not, most likely you're not taking steps to care for yourself. And that's going to put you in a hard situation. And I guess just think of it as, if you're not in a good spot, if you're stressed out, if your health is suffering, because we know from research that a lot of caregivers say that their health is fair to poor, because they're not taking steps to take care of themselves. And so if you get into a position where your health is poor, it becomes harder to care for somebody. And I should say, your health, being physical and mental health, is in a poor spot, then it's going to be hard to provide that level of care that the person needs. And then what's going to happen if you're no longer able to do that, or no longer able to do that well? So again, it's important that you are able to separate yourself a little bit and take those steps. But it's, like I said, it's easy to do, to become so immersed in all the care that you're providing, then that's all that you're doing. Um, Again, that sense of responsibility, we hear a lot from caregivers. Well, they cared for, if it's a parent situation, well, they cared for me as a child. Now it's my turn to care for them. Absolutely, certainly understand that. And again, there's a lot of joy in caregiving, and being able to provide that for somebody who was able to do that for you. But there's important, boundaries are important. And so it doesn't make that responsibility, or that sense of responsibility, any less when you take steps to care for yourself and you set those boundaries. It doesn't make you less of a caregiver. It doesn't make you less of a person for uh, looking out for yourself as well as the person that you're caring for. And there may be that, we hear from a lot of caregivers also that they're the only ones. There's no one else able to help them, that they're the only ones in the area, that it's all on them. And that it may feel that way. Absolutely. Especially if you don't have any other family in the area, or maybe you do have family, but there maybe they're not so helpful. You have a hard time getting them on board, which unfortunately is not uncommon. Um, there are ways to not get around that, but there are steps, other things that you can do to look outside of just the immediate family for assistance. And I can talk about that at the end, as far as some of the other resources that are available. So again, and I know I keep repeating it, but it really truly is important. It's an important message, and that's why I keep saying the same thing over and over again. But this is very true. Setting boundaries is a way of caring for yourself. It doesn't make you mean, selfish, or uncaring because you don't want to do things their way or you have to say no. But self-care is important. I mean, you are an important player in this relationship, and you need to make sure that you are in the best spot possible. And in order to get yourself in the best spot possible, is that you need to take care of yourself. So that you can be as strong as you need to be for the person that you're caring for. So just recognizing what your limits are. I mean, we're all human. We all have limits. We all have things that we're comfortable in doing and things that we're not comfortable in doing, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. And sometimes those hard feelings arise, maybe the frustration or the anger or the resentment. Those are real feelings. You are not alone if you have any of those feelings. But taking those steps to care for yourself, to recognize what those boundaries are and what gets you to some of those feelings, and then you can take steps on minimizing and maybe stepping back on some things so that those feelings aren't so prevalent. Remember, you're human, and your feelings are valid. It's just that's not a place you want to be for very long, and so taking steps to move away from those feelings is a form of self-care. Taking the steps necessary to get you in a better spot is important. So, what are some of the boundaries that you all can set as a caregiver? Just saying no to new tasks or responsibilities, whether it is for the person themselves or from others that may be asking you for some sort of help. It is okay to say no. I know for a lot of people, myself included, it's hard to say no. Someone asks you to do something, you're just naturally inclined to do what you can for that person, but it's okay to tell somebody, I'm really not in the spot right now to be able to provide the extra help that you may need. It really is okay. It's how you say it. It's your tone and all of that. And if you're honest with the person who's asking you that help, then you can hopefully the message will be received well. If it's not, then that's on them. That's not something that we can't control how other people respond to situations and conversations. We can't control how we respond to situations and conversations. So again, it's okay to say no. You are in a season as a caregiver, you are in a season of life that you don't have a lot of extra energy to spend on some of those levels of, whatever those extra requests may be. Reevaluating current tasks and responsibilities. Again, taking a look at, being a little bit of self-aware and that looking at what you do, are there areas that you're just not comfortable in doing or cause you a lot of stress? Maybe battling with insurance companies is just, you do it because it needs to be done, but it causes you a lot of stress, and so is it possible that maybe you do have family, but you are the only one in the area? But maybe there's someone who's long distance who can take on the insurance companies. They can be the one to make those calls, or they can be the ones to handle the finances, if that's too much to keep up with. So there's some things that long distance caregivers may be able to step in and be able to do. So again, it's okay if you're not comfortable doing everything. Now, I recognize that there are really truly times where there just may not be anyone to step in. And so, learning how to manage some of those steps is important. But, if you have to do certain tasks, becoming okay with doing those tasks is hard. It's a hard step to do, but being intentional about just changing the way you look at, and I say I don't say just lightly, because I know that this is hard, but we can control how we respond to situations, and so we can take steps to look at something differently, kind of untwist the way we think about certain things, and so being able to do that. But, there are again, there are avenues where you can bring in other people maybe to help. Whether it is a long distance caregiver who could do some of those tasks, or maybe it's a neighbor who can do some of the smaller tasks, maybe help mow your grass or run by the grocery store for you. So it takes some of those other things off your plate so you can manage some of the bigger things that you might need to. Maybe someone can come over and sit with your loved one for a couple of hours while you go take care of whatever it is that you need to take care of. And so there's ways to kind of shift around some of those responsibilities to see, even if you don't have nearby family to help you with that, or not helpful family members that will help you with that. Delegating things that you don't have time for, delegating tasks that make you uncomfortable. Maybe it's time to look at some of the formal services out there, whether it's a home health agency or other agencies out there that might be able to provide some sort of assistance. And then also with the boundary, again, maintaining your own activities and interests. Again, I keep repeating this, but it is important. It's critical that you do something during the day that brings you joy. And again, caregiving can be joyful, but what I'm talking about is something for yourself, something that you enjoy doing, whether it is soaking in a bathtub or reading your favorite book or calling your friend or meeting a friend out, watching a movie, whatever, needlework, exercise, whatever that is to refill your cup. Make sure that that is part of your daily routine. It doesn't need to be a long period of time, 30 minutes. Or if you can get an hour in, whatever that might be, it's important that you get that part in. Keep that in there. So how do you go about setting those boundaries? Because again, as I said, for a lot of us, it's hard. It's hard to say no, or hard to tell somebody we're just not able to do X, Y, or Z. So again, you've got to give yourself permission. It's a mental conversation, and kind of untwisting the way that you may be programmed already. Again, a lot of us, and myself included, are inclined to say yes to every request that comes our way. But to recognize that you are human, that you have your limits, and you are in a season of life right now that those limits are being stretched. You've got a lot on your plate. So again, giving yourself permission. You're allowed to set boundaries. Again, just because you may set limits or say no to a particular task, it doesn't mean you're less of a caregiver or that you're a bad caregiver for not stepping in certain areas. Just setting those boundaries simply mean that you want certain things to change the way they are. You need it done differently. Sometimes part of it is that we want everything to be perfect. We have a picture in our mind how things should be, and to make things perfect. But sometimes, what I try to tell caregivers is not to let perfect be the enemy of good enough. Sometimes good enough really truly is good enough to get you through the day. Sometimes that perfection creates extra stressful situations. So there may be some things that you need to step away from and just recognize that it's okay that it's not done perfectly in the way that, the exact way that you want it done, or the exact way that someone else wants it done. Again, it comes back to changing some of those conversations in your head, those shoulds. I should be able to manage all of this, or I should be able to battle those insurance companies, or I should be able to understand and navigate the different doctors that need to be called and appointments need to be set. I had a professor that would say often, his mantra was, "I will not should on myself today," because that's setting limits on yourself. You think you should be able to do something, and when you're setting yourself up for failure, potentially, is that you think you should be able to do something should be a certain way, but when it's stress, and that can create hard feelings. And so rethinking how situations can be rather than should be is important. So again, that conversation that you have with yourself, give yourself permission tell yourself that it is okay to set those boundaries. And then just, again, that evaluation, as I mentioned, take a look at, as you go through your days, what are some of those tasks that are hard for you? And again, that's okay. Everybody's different. Everybody has different comfort levels, and it's okay to feel that there are some things that you just don't like doing, or that make you uncomfortable. And you're having a hard time moving past that. And so evaluate your role. You know everything that is going on. You're like the manager in a sense of that caregiving relationship, is that you know everything that needs to happen. So look at some of those tasks, the smaller ones and maybe some of the bigger ones, and then look and see, are there others that you may be able to bring in to help you with some of those that are either harder for you to do, that you don't like to do, whatever that might be. And be honest. Be honest with yourself. What can you do easily? What do you find hard to do? Is there anything that makes you uncomfortable? And again, those feelings, those are all okay. You're human, and we all have those uh, different things we like and we don't like, and different lines as to where that uncomfortableness may set in. And so then, if you're looking again, you can look for help. Sometimes, as I mentioned, sometimes some families, they may have several people in the area and that are able and willing to step up, and they're helpful. And so you can assign those different family members different jobs. Maybe one person is in charge of all the doctor visits, and another person is in charge of the finances and the insurance companies, and the other person may be in charge of looking for different resources, or spending that time, so that coming over and rotating, time spent with the person who needs help. um and can manage that. Now, I recognize that's not always possible. um there can be some family members that can be, that may be in the area, but you can't get them over to help, or maybe they're good at telling you what to do, but not willing to step in themselves. um and you can set boundaries there with that person too. If you've got someone who likes to give you advice but doesn't step forward with any kind of meaningful help, then you're allowed to set boundaries with that person as well. Um, again, you can't control what they say, and it's just sometimes not worth your time or energy to put a lot of thought into what they're saying. You can say, okay, I appreciate your advice. I'll take that into consideration. And then you, as the caregiver, will, what needs to be done and what will be best for that situation. So, again, family members, it can be a sticky situation at times. But are there other people in the area, church members or neighbors or friends, that may be able to step in and do, maybe some of the smaller things, so that you can take care of maybe the bigger things that happen. There are professionals, again, home health agencies. Now, oftentimes it's private pay, so it can be fairly costly. But again, if you get somebody in to help you with the bathing a couple times a week, if that is where it's just hard for you to do, and it could be physically hard. It's not unusual for the person who needs that level of care to be bigger. If it's a wife caring for a husband, then chances are he may be a lot taller and a lot bigger, and so physically it may be hard to get to a point where it's hard to get some of those personal care needs done. So maybe you do look at an agency to come in twice a week to help with the bathing, and some of that, or just a break. There are agencies that provide what they call respite care, and they don't come in and they don't do any personal care, but they come in and sit with your loved one, so that you, as a caregiver, can leave the house without worry. You don't have to worry that, are they okay while you're gone? You've got somebody there that can do that. There are adult daycares, which are places for persons living with dementia. They can go throughout the day, either half a day, full day, 2 times a week, 3 times a week, all week. Again, those are oftentimes private pay, but you need to be able to, they're good because it gives the caregiver a break in what they're doing, and that's important. It's important that you get a little bit of a break, again, to replenish that cup. So looking at, are there some things that others can do in your, surrounding area, your immediate area? I talked about long distance caregivers stepping in at times and providing some assistance and some of those other things. But, if there are things that you can take off your plate, that's one less thing you need to worry about. That's going to be helpful to you. And then communication and just sharing, talking to people about, in your immediate uh, area that immediate world, I guess I should say, communicating with them what it is that you need. It's hard to ask for help. I realize that we're a very independent uh, society. We like to do things on our own. Again, there's a lot of feelings of responsibility that, I alone am responsible for this, that I need to step up and do everything because they did everything for me. And it's really not the case because again, it's a lot. I mean, you've got your own needs that you need to meet. Maybe you've got others that you're providing some care, whether you've got children or grandchildren that you are raising as well, or providing some level of assistance. And so seeking that help and asking for that help is important. Again, this is the season of life that you are in. And so it's, important to seek that help so you're not doing everything by yourself, but communicating those needs. Some people, are so good at just taking it all on, they don't tell, even if they have close family or friends in the area, they don't verbalize some of the stressors that they may be experiencing. And so it's important to talk to those around you and let them know all that you're doing and what you're feeling, and maybe what you're succeeding at and what you're struggling with. Talk if you're able to talk to the person you're caring for. Let them know what's going on if that's a possibility. Now, if you're caring for somebody with dementia, it's going to be harder because they're not going to understand that level of need and what you're maybe going through. But again, communication is key. Don't keep it all in yourself. Again, communicate with others. Sometimes family meetings are important. They may have no idea of what you're feeling and what you're going through because you've done such a good job in putting a strong face forward. But again, it's okay to feel that level of stress in certain areas. I mean, you don't want to feel stress, but your feelings, those hard feelings that you may be experiencing, what I'm trying to say is that it's okay, it's human. And in order to move past those feelings, communication is key. And so then, from there, communicate, you evaluate, you communicate, and then you put a plan in place. You identify those who may be able to help you, whether it is someone from the community or whether it is, or someone, I should say, a professional, or whether it's family members, whether it's friends. Um, again, develop a plan. And then once you develop that plan, you evaluate and look and see if it's working. You may have to, a little bit of it may be trial and error. But, know that you've got a plan in place. Things may look different. Again, don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough. Be okay with some things being good enough. And again, and I threw this in here again, but make sure that you're incorporating some time every day, doing something for yourself. And that can be whatever it is that brings you joy, some sort of even stress management technique, whether you practice deep breathing several times a day, or meditation or imagery, or maybe you incorporate some artwork. Just, find a space in your home to do this, find some time that you can do this. Talk to some caregivers where, they've got a special corner in their bedroom where they sit every morning and they can look out the window, or the back porch, when the weather is nicer. Or even some caregivers have told me that they go into their closet. They have a walk-in closet and they've set up like a little corner in the closet. And so that way other family know, okay, when they're in there, they're not to be disturbed unless there's an emergency. So just carving out some time for yourself, whatever that looks like. It can be done, like I said, 30-minute segments. If you can get an hour in, or maybe you do a couple 30-minute segments throughout their day, or even if it's that one 30-minute segment, that can do a lot to rejuvenate you and to refill your cup. You may get resistance, you may get pushback. Change is hard for a lot of people, and I recognize that some family members may have opinions on how you should do things, but you're the primary caregiver, and you know what's best for the person you're caring for, as well um, as yourself. You know what's going on with yourself and the person that's caring for. Um, and so you may get pushback, and again, stay strong. You know what needs to be done. If someone tells you that you shouldn't be doing X, Y, or Z, maybe you've thought about adult daycare or even placement. Maybe it's time to place your loved one in a facility, and someone steps forward and says, well, you can't do that. Tell me what another solution is. Ask them, tell me, do you have any other solutions, or how can you step in and help the situation? If they're not able to come up with any other solutions, then again, what needs to be done. Communication is key. Again, keep those lines of communication open. But recognize that, it's probably necessary that some changes are made. And again, change can be hard, both for the person you're caring for, even for yourself. But recognize that it's, there just may come a point where if you don't make some changes, then you may be in a bad spot. So just stand strong and be persistent. You know what's best in that situation. And then take small change. Other tips are take small steps. You don't have to make drastic changes overnight. You can take small steps in making those changes. And so maybe it is, it could be that the person you're caring for doesn't like it when somebody else comes into the house. They only want you. Um, sometimes you're gonna have to draw a hard line there and say, okay, so maybe you bring over, if it's a home health agency, maybe they come over just for a short period of time, the first time. And then they can come over a little bit longer, or if it's a neighbor that comes over, maybe they come over while you're there and they hang out for a while. And then the next time they come over, you go for, just a short time, whatever that might look like. So you don't have to make drastic changes. So, in evaluating what it is that, some of those boundaries you want to set, are there steps that you can take to get you ultimately to that goal? Practice, if you're worried about a conversation that you have to have someone because you have a pretty good idea on how they're going to respond, be prepared when you have that conversation. Practice it if you're able to with somebody. Again, most likely you're the primary caregiver, and so you know what needs to happen, and you need to look out for yourself, because if you don't look out for yourself, no one else will. And so what those end results need to be done. Now, recognize that's easier said than done. That can be can be tough at times, but just be persistent, and you keep the end goal in mind, that you want yourself to be in a good spot, and you want the person you're caring for to receive the best care possible. And in order to do that, you need to be in a better spot. You need to minimize some of that stress that you're doing, some of those tasks that you're doing. And so, some change is necessary at times. And so just some general stress management techniques or tips that I have is that, you know, as a caregiver, like I said, everything that needs to be done. So prioritize. There may be some things that you can let go of. Again, don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough. Just prioritize. Give yourself permission to say no. Give yourself permission to take shortcuts when you can. The whole house doesn't have to be perfectly clean. Maybe you've got a back bedroom that you can just put things in and shut the door, and just give yourself permission to not worry about what's back there at this point in time. Again, incorporate stress management techniques into your daily routine, things that bring you joy, whether it's needlework, coloring, something that you can allow your body a time to rest, your body and your mind to focus on something else. and to let go of those responsibilities that may be just for that moment in time that may be causing you stress. And then again, self-evaluation, being aware of what really is helpful. If something isn't helpful, then be okay with letting that go and trying something different. Um, and again, taking care of yourself. I've said it many, many, many times, and just one more time, that this is a priority. It is not, it's not a luxury to take care of yourself. It's not something to do when you have time. It's not selfish. You're not taking away from the person you're caring for when you do something for yourself. It's really a necessity. It's something that needs to be done in order to keep you in a better place. And then again, it's okay to ask for help. Um, you can't always be in that giving position. You are in a season of life where getting extra help is important. And then give yourself some grace. I think caregivers, many that we talk to are hard on yourself. You know, you get upset, you know, when those moments that you do get upset and maybe say something that you regret or say something that you didn't mean to, and then you beat yourself up. You're human, mistakes are going to happen. Those frustrations may boil over at times, but being aware of when you find yourself getting into those spots is important, because as you go through the process of that self-awareness, you can feel yourself getting to a point where um, something may not, you may say something that you didn't mean to. Be aware when you start to feel that way, and then the next time take steps to maybe um, try not to do that the next time. So maybe you implement those breathing techniques. You could do that right then and there. So you're having that hard conversation, or you're getting ready to do something that causes you stress. Take a step back and take a few long, deep breaths. And that really can help separate, just get that oxygen flowing through your body, as well as give you a moment to think, okay, now I know how I want to respond, but what's the best way for me to respond? Or maybe you made a mistake. Maybe something you forgot a dose of medication, or you didn't get to the person was calling for, your loved one was calling for help, and you didn't get there quite fast enough. Give yourself some grace. Again, I think sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. Again, just another mantra that we try to show with caregivers is focus on the things that you can change and let go of the things that you can't. There are certain things that you're just not able to have any control over, whether it is the diagnosis of your loved one, or that hard family member to deal with. You can't control what they're going to say or what they're going to do or what they're think. So you need to be able to let that go. Takes practice. It's like a muscle, but the more you do it, the more you're able to let go of things, the easier it will be. So again, just resources. It's important, again, to know that there's help out there. You don't have to do this journey by yourself. The Alzheimer's Association, if you're caring for somebody with some form of dementia, there's many different types of dementia, but they're titled Alzheimer's Association, but they work with persons of any type of dementia, whether it's frontotemporal dementia or vascular dementia, or Lewy body dementia. There's a ton out there. Their website has a lot of really great information about the disease, as well as direction for caregivers, what to do in the early stages or middle stages or late stages of the disease. They also have a 24-hour hotline, 7 days a week. They have trained professionals that can provide guidance. If you wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh, this situation is just driving me crazy, or I don't know what to do, you can call somebody. There's literally somebody that you can call and talk to, and they can help you through that situation, provide resources, provide guidance. So know that you can do that 24/7. Area agencies on aging are another very good resource. Every county in the country is covered by an area agency on aging. These are federally funded agencies designed to provide services for people 60 years of age or older, as well as family caregivers of a person 60 years of age or older. The caregiver themselves, you don't have to be over 60. They're free. There's no income eligibility, but they often provide information and referrals. So if you want to know about different agencies in the community that may be able to help you, you can call them. They have a benefits counseling department that can help you with public benefit issues. If you're having trouble with insurance, if you have questions about general insurance or Medicare, Medicaid, they can help you with that. They oftentimes have case management where they can help maybe set up some temporary services in the home or help with minor home modifications, whether it's grab bars or something along those lines. Um, um, Actually, forget about the caring for the caregiver. I apologize for that. Well, let me go back to the Area Agency on Aging. So as I said, every county in the country is covered by one of those. And so I would recommend going to this website, eldercare.acl.gov. What you'll do is you'll put in your zip code, and then it will pull up the nearest the area agency on aging that serves that particular zip code. It may not say area agency on aging. It may say Aging and Disability Resource Center, but they're all the information there is for the area agency on aging. And then the last one, the Family Caregiver Alliance, is it's just got a lot of great resources for caregivers. And then, of course, our services, we are available as well. Our services are, there's no cost to our services. We have a coaching program where we can provide one-on-one guidance to family caregivers who may need some assistance. We're located primarily in Texas, so we're very familiar with these resources. But if you want to talk to somebody, you certainly can call, and we can help research some resources or just general guidance. You want just some guidance on how to manage some challenging situations that you might be in, or where can you go for help, or how do I manage the stress level? So you can certainly give us a call, and we'd be glad to talk to you. Our teleconnection sessions, these are hour-long learning sessions that we do online, very much like this, but we have experts from around the country that provide information relative to caregivers. This is the calendar that we have. So next week, for instance, we have Dr. Barry Jacobs. He's a frequent contributor to AARP caregiving site. He's going to talk about how to manage your expectations as a caregiver. We do talk a lot about dementia care, but we also talk a lot about how caregivers themselves can take steps to care for themselves, to avoid burnout, much like the conversation we've had today. These are all recorded. You can go to the website on the bottom, www.caregiverteleconnection.org. The top of the page are upcoming sessions, and then below are the recorded sessions. And so you can search by topic. And so if you're not able to make the live session, you can go back and listen and maybe find something helpful. Education is powerful, understanding what you're dealing with, understanding that steps that you can take to change a situation is important. Because when we have a basic understanding, that puts us a little bit more into control, and when we feel like we're in control, that helps us manage our stress better. It's not that you have to know everything about the disease of your loved one or the whole process, but knowing where you can go to find out the information is important. So this is just it's a great resource. Once a month, we have a session in Spanish as well. And then our stress busting program, this is a what we call an evidence-based program. When it was being developed, we studied the caregivers that went through it, and we found that it actually physically reduced the stress and anxiety that a lot of the caregivers were going through. It's a 9-week class, an hour and a half a week. We do it both in person as well as online. A small group setting, and where we teach caregivers stress management techniques and coping skills as it relates to caregiving. Another resource we have on our website is it's our newsletter, but it also is a website that has additional resources where you can just find out more information. As I said, knowledge is power. So if you're interested in getting a monthly newsletter from us, and it just has articles it allows you to choose the topics that you're most interested in, and then you'll receive articles on a monthly basis that are in line with the topics that you're interested in. But also the site has a lot of just informational little videos and articles as well. There's age and place guides, things that you can do in your home to make it more friendly for the person that you're caring for. Quick care tips, healthcare navigators, questions about healthcare, and so, or different health issues. So again, it's just more information. Just know that this is a resource that you can access anytime. Again, if you're up in the middle of the night or you've got a moment and you just want to research, certainly encourage you to come here. And then this is our contact information that we have. And so if you would like to reach out to us, you're certainly more than welcome to. But that is all that I have. I know we're nearing the end, but if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. Or if you think of something later, you can reach out as well.
Does anybody have any questions that you want to try and use the chat feature? We'll give everybody a minute to see if they want to use that chat feature. And if nobody uses it, you're welcome to unmute yourself here in just a minute here. I'm going to wait to see if we have any questions. That was a lot of information, so I know Tina would be happy to answer anything you might
Absolutely.
have. Does anybody want to unmute themselves and have a question?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Takes too long to write something in the chat.
Sure.
The last 4 or 5 screens or 6 screens were very important, and you were running out of time, so you went over them real fast. Is there a way to get the PDF for the not the PDF, the PowerPoint?
I can send Nancy the PowerPoint after this session. Absolutely.
Okay, so
That's
how
a
do
good
I?
idea.
Okay, you have
So-
my information.
And
So
we're also recording this, so it's going to be on that as well. So, but yes,
Okay.
we'll be happy to share that with you.
So if
and
you want to
everybody.
get the recording, how do you? What do you do?
So after we're done with the editing, we'll just forward it out to everybody who participated and anybody else who had registered to get the recording initially. So we will make sure that you and everybody in this presentation and outside will get the presentation. But if you have questions or didn't receive it, please call the office. We are we're answering the phone. We're live people. You won't go into a bank waiting for somebody to answer your call. So call us and we will help you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Anybody want to share anything?
And like I said, here, I'll put my email in there too. I didn't do that. I realized it was a lot of information, kind of a fire hose of sorts. So if you think of something later, you're certainly more than welcome to email me, reach out to the Caregiver SOS. It's Caregiver SOS at wellmed.net. You're certainly more than welcome to reach out to us at any time, or through Nancy. Nancy can get a hold of me as well.
Well, we appreciate you doing the presentation because I know a lot of people are in this position or, will be in the future. So we're very grateful for you doing this. So I guess with no more questions, I think we just want to make sure we thank everybody for participating and especially Tina for doing the presentation. If you're a member of PASR, great. We really appreciate your support. And if you're not a member, we'd love to talk to you and have you join the PASR. So if you want to call us, we're at 717-697-7077. We're open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. And like I said, we have people who answer the phone and we're happy to help wherever we can. And we have many resources and other Zooms coming up. And in fact, Tina will be doing another one here. I think that one is February 28th. You'll be doing Bringing Your Loved One Home. So anyway, thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day and call us if you need anything. That's why we're here.